Okay, I don't know why, like, I've been a little unfortunate in this case. Like, whenever I've approached the artist, like, something happens to them. The beat of the title track, we put a guy inside the coffin, we made him knock from inside.
Oh my god, guys.
Yeah.
First at radio. Hey guys, this is Aashna. You know, musicians create music, but this guy right here creates an experience. A visionary composer and the founder of the Indian Jam project, Tushar has been redefining the way the world hears Indian classical instruments. Tushar, from Skyfall to Dancing on the Grave, your work has been making waves, like literal waves, throughout Indian space, right? How do you decide which projects to take on?
Okay, so firstly, thank you. That's very kind of you. Project-wise, okay, so when I'm doing Indian Jam project, like I do check if the score that I'm picking. So Indian Jam project is essentially picking scores and making Hindustani classical adaptations. So when I pick a score, I do check how well it matches with the raga. Suppose like if you're talking about James Bond or Skyfall.
Yes.
So James Bond would definitely match with Madhuvanti as a rag.
Yes.
So then, I mean, sometimes I think about that, and other times I think the composition itself is so beautiful where you don't have to dive into this process.
Yes.
So I think we did a version of Hotel California, and there was no, like, we didn't improvise on the composition at all because it's so much fun to play Hotel California in itself.
Yes.
And the part where all the guitars are going together, we replicated that part with the Mohan Veena and a sitar. So we were so excited about that process, so we took that track.
Yeah.
And yeah, regarding films, I mean, if I like the premise of it, and like, you know, I mean, Dancing on the Grave, the premise was actually very problematic, but it was
Exactly.
So I don't.
How do you like navigate to, like, you know, compose music for a documentary like this, you know?
It's a docu-series, so obviously you can't get like too empathetic about it, or you can't like dive into it too much.
Be neutral. With
Yeah,
it, right?
yeah, and it's about a guy burying his wife alive, so I also don't want to relate to it. But yeah, I mean, I think it was just so well done, and I love the director, Patrick, like, you know, he's such an incredible guy. And also the guys who are making it India Today, Ankit, Chandni, these guys, I mean, you know, they're all incredible at what they do. So I really love the team. And then when I read the Bible of the show, like, you know, the Bible was so well made that I got sold on doing the show. And funnily, like, the composition of Dancing on the Grave title track. Okay, you have a question about
this. So you made this like 6 years ago, I believe?
Yeah. Actually, I mean...
In an auditorium.
Yeah,
That is insane.
Exactly. Patrick and Ankit, like, you know, they sent me the Bible and I fell in love with the Bible, and I wrote back to them telling them ki I will, like, you know, kind of send you a composition as I'm reading the Bible because something's coming in my head.
Yeah.
And I started playing this composition, which was weirdly familiar. Then I went down in my phone's like voice memo app, and like, you know, I saw this voice note which is called anti-CMU. CMU is Carnegie Mellon University.
Okay.
So basically, my dad was doing a course at Carnegie Mellon. And this was in Pittsburgh, I think. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't remember the city properly. And after him and all his friends, they had finished the course, they had booked a school auditorium to kind of go and do like dancing and karaoke and whatnot. And I was there like with them, and all their kids were also present. And my idea of having fun is not going to a karaoke or not, like, you know, going to a club, because
Oh my god, I love you for that.
because I'm anyway so overexposed to music all day. So if on top of that, like, you know, I'm going and singing on top of that, like,
That
it's
is only fair.
not my idea of fun. Like this is so much fun because it's so quiet and we're talking, like, you know, I love this kind of a vibe. So, and because it was a school auditorium, so they all started singing and whatever in the main hall, and I figured that it's an American school and there must be a music room. So I started looking for a music room, and I found one where, like, a piano practice room basically. So I sat on that piano and I started playing the tune, and I started playing that tune because I was fried from the karaoke. So that's actually the origins of the title track. But then that tune was very sinister, and I don't know why it came to me. But then I think 6-7 years later, when these guys sent me the Bible, I was like, all things said and done, like, you know, whatever I made in that auditorium, like, fits here really well. And it's like weirdly sinister for being fried from a karaoke. So I was like, let me just send it to them. And I sent that to Patrick, and he really loved it. And he was like, this has got the correct amount of everything. So like, we might as well go ahead with it.
It's got something to like. It's literally the theme of the whole series.
Yeah,
so.
And also the percussion of like the title track is recorded. Like I recorded knocks from inside a coffin, which this like no one knows about. So we took a coffin inside a recording room, and like the beat of the title track, it's like we put a guy inside the coffin, we made him knock from inside.
Oh my God. First at radio.
Yeah, and it also because it was my first one, I was like, like I'm gonna go ham and like do everything and try every experiment. So yeah, but I think it translated well. So
it really did. Everybody could say that.
Yeah. So
moving on to your recent projects, you've worked on Nadaaniyan.
Yeah.
Tell us, how is that?
So Nadaaniyan was also a lot of fun because the score required the spectacle of a Dharma film combined with the contemporary like Gen Z soundscape of like a Miss Marvel or like one of these new TV, Euphoria or something like that. So usually like these two worlds, they don't exist together. But for this film, the score required that. So, and Shauna had told me that like earlier on that, we require something which sounds very contemporary, and we require something which is also larger than life because this is a Dharma film.
Like the music on this one was so different from the other Dharma films.
Yeah.
Like it's so nice.
I think the scoring part of it was very much in accordance with the world where they were living, like, an affluent school where like, kids are trying to figure out love transactionally and like, whatever's happening. Like I don't know what 20-year-olds are doing right now. But I think like cracking that space and like, kind of also going orchestral in between wherever there are sad moments. So I really enjoyed that as a challenge, I mean, especially like coming from Dancing on the Grave, Curry and Cyanide. Like I've been doing murder docuseries back to back. And everyone in my house is also fried of seeing the footage of like, some skull or this or that. So they're like, can we do something light? And
your songs in the background of this.
So I mean, this was a lot of fun to do. I mean, this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing the score of this entire film.
Coming to the music that you've put out on your YouTube page. So I told you, two of my colleagues, they love him. Like they are true fans. Why haven't you put out anything on your YouTube page since like I think more than a year?
Yeah, more than 2 years actually. It's a very good question to which I don't know the answer of. No, I think with Indian Jam, like although we are doing adaptations of scores, like it comes from a very pure space. And whenever I'm occupied with other work, like I think I've been working on films and web series back to back. So I did Dancing on the Grave, then I did Curry and Cyanide, I did a Paresh Rawal film, then Nadaaniyan was. So in the middle of that, I'm not able to find time to do Indian Jam with the intent that I want to do Indian Jam project. So I mean, but now like, finally like I'm taking a break and like, I'm on purpose, like, not taking anything for 2 months. So now I have time to, like, I have already finished doing an arrangement of Oppenheimer. And
so
can you hear the music? Yeah, I'm pumped. I'm actually genuinely very excited. So I think within the next 2-3 months, like, I should be able to put that on the channel. And
I'm pretty sure it'll have another 5 million, 10 million views.
No, actually, like, even if it doesn't, it's fine. I think I just wanted to give that to the people who have supported Indian Jam project. And I think those guys are very like like optimistic, and even though I don't post regularly, like they don't leave the channel. So like I really
keep going back and hearing your songs and music videos. And
so I really want to give something back to them. So Oppenheimer would be like a great way to kind of revive the channel and like get things going again.
So your covers feature some of the most talented Indian classical artists. How do you go about selecting the right artists for your MV or even your songs, like for this matter?
I mean, I think the first video that we did was Game of Thrones, and I found all those guys through college, through Jai Hind.
Oh wow. Okay.
And I was also participating in Unifesta in like a state and a national level instrumental competition. So I was Jai Hind's representation in those categories. So there I met a bunch of very interesting people. Like I met Prathamesh there, who's a very talented flautist, and I met like Aditya Apte, this guy who's an incredible sarod player. So I got exposed to a lot of musicians there, and these competitions are very different from Malhar because the best of the entire country, like, you know, are coming there to participate.
Yes.
And Malhar is also the same, but like, you know, you really hear like everyone's coming. It's like a, how do I say it? Like, it's like a national competition of like, you know,
definitely.
instrumental.
So I'm from Xavier's.
Oh, okay.
So I know how Malhar works and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But like I haven't seen any Indian classical, you know,
Yeah.
acts come like, you know, like get famous through Malhar or something like that. So I get what you're saying.
So yeah, I think Xavier's has other IPs like Jan Fest, which is incredible.
Yes, I was
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean here at Unifesta, like, you know, I met a bunch of really interesting people, and then I was constantly in touch with them. And then I think when we released Game of Thrones, the premise of it was so interesting that it went viral. And then I started like, you know, kind of slowly expanding the network and talking to other people, and like, you know, then I mean, yes. Then I think slowly everyone else was also interested.
Yes.
So I mean, they started texting that, you know, like how can we contribute, and then and all of them are really nice, you know. They're not very regimental and old school about it. Like, you know, they are open to collaborating and improvising. So yeah, I think that's a great vibe in general.
Like all of them are so like fantastic, and it all like comes out very nicely every time you put out a music video.
Yeah,
So,
they're incredible, very talented musicians, I must say.
Have you ever had a creative block?
Yeah, always.
Like I'm so fascinated. Like you put out bangers on bangers continuously, and then do you ever get tired of it sometimes?
I mean, in my head, like, you know, there is a very distinct compartmentalization of what I do to pay my rent, and like, you know, what I do to, you know, kind of actually satiate my artistic integrity. Like, you know, so I think like definitely I do a lot of ads. So like, you know, and it's not really like, you know, the best. I mean, it's not really something which requires my hardcore artistic integrity.
Yeah.
But I think when I'm working on a film score or on a song, like, you know, there I need to like, you know, draw a lot of intent, and I need to put all of that in an original thought. So, so there I face a lot of block. But then I also think that if you just sit and like, you know, kind of attach a routine to it. So even the days you're not doing anything, even if you just sit idly for like 2 hours and you couldn't come up with something, it definitely contributes a lot to like, you know, kind of removing that block slowly. So you can do that for 4 days, and the 5th day, like something will pop up in your head. So a lot of it is about discipline, and I think the number one enemy of creative block is maybe ruminating in that space. So if you're constantly thinking I have a block, it's like a self-fulfilling disastrous cycle. So to get out of it, like, you know, it's like any other job, you know, like just be disciplined about it, like, you know. And I'm talking as if like, you know, I'm so hyper disciplined now. That's not true, but this is what I know. This is I know that, you know, I know this is how you get out of it, and I also try to practice this, fail at it. But like, you know, the days I succeed, like, you know, it works very well.
Is there any instrument you haven't used yet, but you would want to discover it?
Yeah, definitely. I think, okay, in Indian Jam project videos, like, we've pretty much used everything.
That's a flex.
No, I mean, no, but there are so many, like, you know, I'm pretty sure it's my lack of knowledge which is not allowing me to answer the question properly. But I think I'm even thinking like Nadswaram and Shehnai maybe. Shehnai, like, but we have shot a video recently for Indian Jam where we are doing Godfather, and the entire theme is played on Shehnai, which is a bizarre combination, but the player is like incredible, and like, you know, it's come out very well. So I think, but till now, like, you know, Shehnai, and Shehnai is also like, you know, it's such a, I mean, that instrument needs its own space, and like, you know, to do justice arrangement wise, like, it's a task. But yeah, I think, and maybe Jal Tarang. Like, so, I mean, there are instruments.
There are. Keeping the theme of the question, if your life had a background score, which 3 instruments would dominate the track?
Wow. So, I mean, I would pick my major, like piano, definitely would be there. And it's a very interesting question. And then maybe I would pick a sarod and a sarangi.
Oh, can we
like,
get that like soon?
yeah.
Did you make it?
I see. I can promise you and then like never do it.
Oh, great. But hoping you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to.
Your mission is to take Indian classical instruments to a global audience.
Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest misconception about the Indian classical space?
I think more than a misconception, I think people get very scared of. People, I think, maybe think that it's too regimental and like it's too sincere a space, and a lot of us are listening to music to get out of something.
Yes.
So why would you listen to something which is like very sincere and like it's almost like you're scared of it. But classical is so different once you get to know it, and it's actually meditative. I mean, classical. So how is it different from like Western music? Like one of the key indicators would be classical has like, if you take a rag, like there's one note and you revolve around that note, and there's like convergence and divergence around that note, and there are rules around the convergence and the divergence. And Western classical is pretty much, I mean, there are things which are defined, but like there are no rules that you have to be constricted to like this particular zone. But in classical, that limiting is not it's not a rule, it's a choice.
Okay.
So say if you decide to meditate in a room for 5 days, you can either call it a jail or you can either call it a choice to explore depths, and like so classical should be looked at like that.
I don't know why, but I correlate classical music to respect. Like if something goes wrong, you're disrespecting some sort of
Yeah, it's very easy to kind of correlate classical music with respect, because to even take a proper sound out of a bansi or a sarangi, you need to practice that instrument for a year.
Correct.
Like a guitar you can just strum, or a piano you can just play, but to even get a bansi to sound proper, like people take 6 months, 8 months. If you are playing a classical instrument, it's very evident that you must have given it at least like 5-6 years of regime or like discipline. So I think that's where the respect comes from. And because I think anyone who's poured like 6-7 years into acquiring a skill, like you naturally feel like respecting them.
Like there are so many people who've just devoted their whole life to learning classical music or like classical dance for that matter. So,
absolutely. And it is something where even like one lifetime falls short,
Exactly.
So I mean, it is like have listened to like the music of some stalwarts, and even I understand classical on the surface only, despite like studying it for so many years. But it genuinely is like, when people say that one life isn't enough to understand classical, like it's absolutely true. Like there's too much to it. And I mean, it's I think everyone should think of it as a meditative space where kind of exploring things, rather than like oh, this is going to be like a 30-minute rag, so I'm scared of it. Because I only have time to like listen to the music for 4 minutes and then go back to something.
Is there an artist, Indian or international, you love to collaborate with?
Oh yeah, there's so many. There are so many. Okay, I don't know why. Like I've been a little unfortunate in this case, where like wherever I approach the artist, like whenever I've approached the artist, like something happens to them, and it's very
What do you mean?
No, it's very sad. I actually I was doing this song with the Budapest Orchestra, and I wanted to record the Wadali brothers for it, and I called one of the brothers, and they were also up for it, and then suddenly one of them passed away, which was very sad. And then I, for the longest time wanted to do something with Pandit Shiv Kumar Sharma ji, and he's just one of the greatest musicians to have ever existed. And I wanted to, I don't think actually I can collaborate with him, but even to be around him and absorb something. But then he also passed away, and Zakir Bhai, the Saad Zakir Bhai also passed away. So it's whoever I look up to, they're all going, and it's very sad. It's very sad. I think whenever we're hit with the news of a stalwart passing away, it's, I don't know how to cope with that, but there are still some of them left, and in India definitely I'd love to kind of collaborate with them. But mostly, most of them are from the classical space. And otherwise, from the West, like, I would love to maybe collaborate with Olafur Arnolds and Ludwig Göransson and, like, very extremely talented. And again, these are dream collabs, right?
Yes.
Or anyone from Radiohead, like, it's my all-time favorite
I
band.
can see that happening.
Yeah. I hope, like, anyone from that band, like, I mean, I just like sit around and, like, listen and watch them do their thing.
Let's manifest it together.
Yeah, 100%. Please. If that happens, I'm going to come back here and, like, give everyone a party or a treat.
What's on your personal playlist right now? Top songs, top artists?
Right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so, like, you'd be surprised. I'm listening to a lot of Charli XCX.
Oh my god, everybody I've met.
Yeah, so I mean, I actually on my way I was listening to One Dutch, which is like, it's such a great song.
Contrast.
I know.
Contrast right here, guys.
I know.
Yeah.
And there's this artist called Proximity, and I mean, off late I've been listening to a remix they've done of this Radiohead song called Everything in Its Right Place.
Okay.
So these two songs, like, I was blasting them like while on my way.
So that's your top song?
So at this moment, it's One Dutch.
Okay.
Because, like, I mean, she's doing such an incredible job. And but yeah, apart from that, mostly, like, I'm listening to, my playlist is only Radiohead and scores. Yeah. So it's mostly that, but sometimes even it kind of gets depressive because it's just, it's one zone and I'm constantly listening to it. So sometimes when I have to break out, then I go into Billie Eilish and Charli XCX and, like, and those guys are so different that, like, it really, like, psychs you out of, like, whatever you're listening to. Yeah.
My fave currently is Party for You.
Okay.
You heard that?
Yeah, of course.
The hook is, like, stuck in my head, like, all day.
Yeah.
Is there a non-music related hobby or passion that influences your compositions?
So I play a lot of tennis. It isn't exactly influencing my music, but
it helps you, like,
but when you're in a room all day, like, trying to, like, think, and then if you have to step out, like, it's kind of the best hedge against my like, entire daily routine. So I love, like, playing tennis, and it, like, immediately, like, it's like my brain took a bath, and then I come back and then I'm able to think again.
So we already know what's next for the Indian Jam project. You told us. We're looking forward to that. And so you are one of the few first artists who experimented with fusion music on YouTube. And then Vidya Works and all those people came, and I think you are the OG.
Okay.
If you could give one piece of advice to young musicians and your fans about the upcoming project, what would it be?
Advice? Okay. I mean, I don't think I'm wise enough to drop some advice.
You are. No. You can just say it.
I think, I mean, keep your intent unadulterated. I think that's one of the most important things. Especially the stuff that you're releasing for yourself. Not the films and ads and, like, because there it will get adulterated, because sometimes there's a director who's, like, telling you to do things. Ads to matlab is, like, a different space only. But, like, if you're working on your own album or if you're working on your own EP, so don't, like, try to do like a market research or a product market fit and all of that. Like, don't do that, man. Like, please. Don't think that, like Deep House is doing really well, so let me turn my entire sensibility and, like, try making something Deep House. I mean, I think do what comes to you naturally, because I think it's your relationship with the truth that is with your art. People connect to music in a similar way. So whatever I'm experiencing with my instrument, I think that gets translated, and then people, kind of latch on to it in a similar way. But, if you kind of adulterate that intent with anything else, if I start thinking I'm targeting a group of, like, 12 to 18 is my TG and, like, this and that.
So don't make others happy. Just do whatever you think.
And we are not supposed to give the audiences what they want.
They're supposed to like you for what you're, like, making.
We're supposed to induce intellect. Like, we're not supposed to give them, hey, you're listening to, like, pop, like, let me design some hyper pop and give it to you. The consumption will happen, but it's such a waste of an exercise. Like, I think being an artist is much bigger than that. Like, you can help them see what they are not seeing.
That is so wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that wise? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Love it. Thank you guys for watching.
94.3 Radio 1.